Canada should be the 51st state. February 2025, Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump looks into the cameras and says something no US president has said out loud in over a century. Canada should be the 51st state. Now, the political response in Canada is instant and fierce. Justin Trudeau, the then Prime Minister, says there's no snowball chance in hell. Pierre Poilievre, the opposition leader, then says it will never happen. Mark Carney says it will never happen. Public opinion lines up with them. Roughly 90% of the Canadians oppose the idea. And get this, 82% say they would rather rejoin the British Empire than become American.
But here is what nobody's talking about. While politicians draw lines in the sand, a completely different set of numbers exists. Those numbers are economic and they are staggering. 76% of Canadian merchandise exports to one country, the United States. 93% of Canadian crude oil exports flow south. The Canadian pension plan, your retirement, has 12% invested in Canada and 47% invested in the United States.
Politically, nothing changed in 2025. Economically, most of these patterns have existed for decades. Every single day, roughly 3.6 billions in goods and services cross the Canadian US border. That's not a typo. Billions every single day. That's correct. Canada is the number one export destination for more than 30 US states. Many Canadian exports aren't even finished products. They are inputs that move back and forth across the border multiple times before final assembly. These supply chains are so deeply integrated, they are practically impossible to separate. In 2024, about 93% of Canadian crude oil exports went to the United States. Canada is the largest foreign supplier of oil to the US, providing about 60% of all US crude oil imports. Most Canadian crude is heavy oil requiring specialized refineries. Many are in the US and were designed specifically to process Canadian supply. Canadian oil often sells at discount due to transportation limits and few alternative markets. Even within Canada, eastern provinces import oil through systems that pass through the United States. Think about that. Eastern Canada gets its own country's oil by routing it through America.
Canada produces many highly educated engineers, scientists, and researchers, but tracking the studies show a significant share of graduates from top universities eventually working in the United States. The irony? We train them, America employs them. The Canada Pension Plan Investment Board manages over $700 billion. As of 2024, about 12% of CPP assets are invested in Canada, the lowest level ever.
Nearly half, 47% to be exact, are invested in the United States, the highest level ever, up from 42% in the fiscal year 2023. Your retirement money? It's betting on America. January 2025, Angus Reid, 18% favored annexation, highest of any province. January 2026, 19 to 31% support independence or US statehood. Support is minority but higher than other provinces, 10% to 18 to 31% in Alberta itself. Alberta's tension with Ottawa center on energy policy, pipelines, and fiscal transfers. Most Albertans oppose both separation and annexation, but the province highlights internal regional differences within Canada. Canada remains a sovereign country within its own government, laws, elections, and institutions. At the same time, many economic systems are deeply integrated with the United States.
Trade 76% to one market. Energy 93% to one destination. Talent flowing steadily southwards. Capital, retirement invested 4 times more in America than Canada. Defense, integrated into US systems. Currency, following US policy. But here is a question nobody wants to ask out loud. Is Canadian economy independence fully intact, partially constrained, or simply shaped by geography? The politicians have their answer. The numbers tell a different story. I'll leave it for you to decide.